Jared, I made a stupid comment that we had never failed to achieve a quorum, and then this happened. So thank you for saving our record.
Okay, you're welcome.
Yeah. So it's 7:08. I'd like to call this meeting of the Middlebury Development Review Board to order. Thank you all for joining us. If you're participating in a public hearing or just want to preserve your rights to do so, please sign in and make sure that JR has your name. Having participated in a meeting, even if you don't testify, if you're on the record, preserves your rights as you go forward if something were to be appealed or go to a second meeting, you'd be notified. So we're going to have 3 items on the agenda tonight. Two are final approval hearings for subdivision requests, and a third is an appeal. The appellant has asked us to move that item to the front of the agenda, which I haven't had a chance to talk to all of you about, but I did ask Veger. I think that procedurally it's not a problem, although I expect that we would probably deliberate at some point, so we could hear the hearing and then have a deliberative session at the end. Does that sound okay? Yeah? Yeah. Okay, so, and then we will have a little bit of other business tonight. So the first item on the agenda, though, is for the approval of the August 11th minutes. Does anybody want to put forward a motion on that one?
Seeing as 3 of us weren't there,
So maybe we defer that?
I think we defer.
Okay. Any procedural problem with that, JR? That you
Nope.
need these? Okay, so we'll table that to the next meeting and count the August 11th TRB minutes unapproved at this point. So I'll now begin the public hearing for application. We're still going with the appellant first, JR?
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
we're ready to go?
Yep.
This is an application file 2025-0090.018/.022A, which is an appeal by Judy Weiger-Groves, and I apologize, please correct my pronunciation. Did I get that close to right, Weiger-Groves?
It is.
Okay, thank you. Of the administrative decision by Middlebury P&Z to approve the zoning permits numbered 2025-088 and 2025-089. Permit applications were approved for the requested driveway and site prep of Lot 16 and Lot 17 of the Forest Ridge subdivision located on Fred Johnson Circle by owner Kevin Elnicki. The 2 lots, 16 and 17, located on Fred Johnson Circle are in the R2 zoning district, and they're identified by parcels number 009070.022 and the same number .018 respectively. So if anyone would like to, actually I'd like to do an oath. May I do oaths for all the hearings? Anybody
Yes.
wants to testify? Okay. I didn't know if an appellant appeal was different. If you'd like to participate in any of the hearings tonight, in other words, testify, I'm going to offer you an oath, and I'd appreciate it if you would raise your hand and affirm yes that you agree to what I read. And is anybody online, JR?
Yes.
Okay. So, folks who are attending online, if you want to be able to testify in the hearing, I'll ask you to turn your camera on if possible and raise your hand and just say aye after the oath. This would be Michael Giorgio and Stacy Gillett. Okay? Okay. Yeah, as long as I can hear you, but it'd be better if we could see just see your hand. It's hard to hear.
Hi, this is the Gillette's. Sorry, I cannot find the camera.
That's okay. You can just say
I can't either.
You can say that Gillette's and Giorgio affirm. That's fine. We can get through this.
Thank you.
All right. So the oath is as follows. I hereby swear or affirm that any testimony I give tonight will be true and accurate to the best of my knowledge. And I'll ask you to raise your hand high and hold it, just so that JR can see who's swearing in. And the Gillettes and Giorgio, I see Mr. Giorgio has raised a digital hand. That counts. And Stacy has as well. Thank you. All right, I appreciate it. sorry for the technical difficulties today, but with that, I will ask the appellant to come up and quickly, briefly state the primary points of her appeal. You can assume, Judy, that the board has read the documents of the appeal. Okay.
Thank you. I was going to say, after teaching in a classroom for 30 some odd years, I become somewhat hard of hearing. And if I get nervous, I become even more hard of hearing, but okay. So is there anybody here representing Kevin Elnicki?
I don't know, and the way that these appeals work, yes, there is a representative here, I think. But the way that these appeals work is we do ask you to make your case, and then we may ask for additional follow-on testimony. The board will ask you questions about your appeal. There may be additional follow-on testimony, but we don't allow a back and forth by and large, simply because we want a clean record of what's happened. This is a quasi-judicial board, so we operate a little more like a courtroom than like an average board. Okay.
Okay.
If you have a question, like a factual issue, and you want us to, you say that's an important part of my appeal, we are very glad to hold on to that, and we may decide to ask the representative of Mr. Elnicki that question if that person testifies.
Okay. Well, I'm going to have to let you decide if what I'm saying is okay or not.
Okay.
But I've got a series of things. So one is just some background information that hopefully you're already aware of, that according to the latest census, the mean per capita income in Middlebury is $51,000, which would translate into buying a house at $164,000. The median household income, in other words, half of the population is below this point, half the population is above this point. The median household income in Middlebury is $75,000, which would translate into a home valued at $250,000. The current poverty rate in Middlebury is a little over 13%, 13.8%, which translates into 1,200 people in Middlebury are at or below the poverty level. I guess one of my questions is, this development, what need is this proposed finalizing phase one? What need is it filling? That would be a question I would like to have asked. I also wanted to ask some questions in terms of what is this individual's business plan? How many houses does he have to build in order to recoup whatever money he spent on this? And then, of course, how many are you planning work to begin this year? So on to things that I listed in my appeal. The original wastewater permit was issued in 1991 or 92. There seems to be some, I had 92. And I understand that there's no expiration date. But I also understand that much in the area has changed since 1992. Just as a couple very brief examples, storms that we used to call 100-year storms are now occurring with increasing frequency. we've got storms referred to as 1,000-year storms, and they are occurring with increasing frequency. And that is why I'm asking that this permit, this wastewater permit, be reevaluated. Much in the area has changed. Act 250, when A. Johnson still owned the property, they asked for Act 250 permitting to take place, and they allowed it to lapse on 2 occasions. The second occasion, there was 18 acres around my house that was deemed unbuildable and put into conservation. And JR, I think you can put where I am, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's where I am. And 18 acres surrounding my house was deemed unbuildable because it's all wetland. That wetland extends much further back, and unless there's some kind of, I don't know what, barricade or barrier, that wetland extends behind the 2 lots that are being asked for in terms of construction. Recent weather has resulted in significant flooding and erosion in the area. In fact, a number of years ago, a road, right nearby was completely destroyed, and they had to develop new access. So again, I'm requesting that an updated wetland review and a more current well and wastewater plan be developed for those reasons. Next, looking at lot 16, which is where the little thing is. Yep. Lot 16, from the road, you can't help but notice the topography. If you're driving down Fred Johnson Circle, the first thing you notice is it just drops. The fact of the matter is, if you go from the upper left, if you're facing the lot, if you go from the upper right-hand corner to the lower left-hand corner, there's a drop of almost between 70 and 90 feet within, I think it's 0.066 miles. So the thing just drops off. Sorry, where was I? Again, so I guess that's why I'm requesting that the lots be offered for sale first before going in and doing, putting in a driveway or doing any kind of site work. It's my recollection that that's how other lots were sold there. They were sold first and then site work was done. Next. So, and again, these were questions that I had for the developer. How is this going to increase the cost of road maintenance? How is this going to increase, particularly since neither Schoolhouse Hill Road nor Fred Johnson Circle or Forest Ridge Road are equipped to handle heavy equipment? who's going to bear the cost of water and new water and sewer maintenance? This development is going to further tax Middlebury's finite water supply, which, in addition to all of this, is in large part located underneath the Middlebury State Airport. My guess is that these costs will be passed on to Middlebury taxpayers. Last, and to me personally most important, new development will forever alter the quality of life for all local residents. And I'm not just talking about the people that live on the street. All manner of life lives here. It's an incredibly healthy habitat for all kinds of things. So I have apex predators that live on my property or the surrounding area. So there are black bears, there are broad-tailed hawks that are on the top of the food chain. I have barred owls that sit in the trees along my driveway. They're also at the top of the food chain. So they're evidence of the ecological health of this neighborhood. And they also require a considerable amount of space. It's not like a chipmunk who, give them about the length of my driveway. And in addition, the Conservation Commission, Middlebury's Conservation Commission, is also looking to conserve this area because of its proximity to the town's major water supply and the fact that it has numerous wildlife corridors that go through it. And if it's developed, that health will not be regained.
Thanks, Judy. So, first, I can just tell you the temperature of the board is that many of our questions are going to be about what is actually under the purview of this permit and of the DRB, as opposed to the Agency of Natural Resources or other agencies that might review these topics, right? Such as they would typically review wastewater permits, for example, wetland permitting, things like that. So with that in mind, I would like to continue to move on and get any other testimony. But before we do that, maybe are there questions from the board for Judy based on what you heard? No? No. Thank you.
Thanks. And for getting my name right.
You're welcome. Do I have it right that Jason, your firm is representing the owner of the lot?
That is correct.
Do you want to make any clarifications on points that were raised, or are you?
I do, but I'll wait until I get the rest of the testimony and then I can address it all at once if that works for you, if you'd like me to.
No, that'd be fine. I mean, we could open it up to the public and you can come up if there are other questions raised. That does make sense. Are any other members of the public here to speak? Hi, please introduce yourself.
Christine Georgia. I want to start by asking, is there anybody that's on the board that is going to get a financial gain based on this project?
Oh, that's a great point. Thank you for asking. I should have asked for a conflict check before we started this meeting. I know that I don't, but I should ask, does anybody have any either conflict of interest, or have you had ex parte communications with the applicant about this? No. Thank you for
I'm
asking.
talking about the greater board, that communications may have been going back and forth between over the past since this appeal's been put through.
The greater board, well, I mean, Jason is part of the board, but he specifically refused for all of tonight's stuff, and I have not had any conversations. I would consider that if anybody on the board has had a conversation with Jason or somebody from his firm about this, that would be something you'd have to disclose.
Well, I would hope it would become public record.
Yeah.
For sure.
Yep.
Yeah.
I agree.
Because if appeals are put through and that appeal is read by somebody on this board and then that person, I just think it becomes a conflict.
Okay.
For sure. So what I'm here to understand is why in a phone call with Mr. Christ, with Dave Wetmore, I believe was his name, in the room, Mr. Christ was trying to kind of understand the process, was my understanding, but he was doing fine on his own, but this other person chimed in quite a bit. And in that conversation...
This other person meaning Dave Wetmore?
Yes.
Okay.
In that, and I wasn't for sure of the name, but
Yes, correct.
Makes sense, yeah.
And I was asking questions about the permitting process, and Dave indicated in that conversation that the permits were from 1991. Or what they were using to now give these permits. And I questioned that. And Dave said that building in Vermont, and I wrote this down because I wanted to make sure I checked this, building in Vermont is not as restrictive as it used to be. And there would be absolutely no point in me asking for an appeal to this. And so my question to the board is why that conversation, and why would somebody be told they should not appeal a permit? I'd also like to consider the date of that permit and have the board consider the current ordinances in Vermont and around building projects.
Consider it in evaluating that application.
Correct. The slope of the land has changed. I have photos, I didn't print them, of our own home, and which is adjacent to one of the lots in question. And that slope is sloping this way. You can see it on our house. Again, I have photos. This particular sloping that Judy was referring to is in existence. That's very real. Where our well is it right at the base of where this lot is supposed to be going in. My concern is, given the slope of the land, given the change in topography, what will happen to the wells that are below that land, and who deals with that problem when it becomes in existence? I would assume that this board will not want to put in writing today that you will then eat those costs if our wells are damaged, but somebody needs to be looking at that. And certainly, if you will, that would be helpful when this becomes a problem for people in the neighborhood. I also want to consider the environmental impacts of this project and what is in that area. Judy alluded to different animals, etc. That's very true. I have 3 deer right now living on my lawn who walk back and forth through these lots. I think it has become a safe haven for a lot of animals. And you know, my fear as we're talking about the topography and we're talking about the sloping and these 1991 permits, even since I've been there in the last 10 years, some culverts have been changed and redone with the road. So can you say that the information that was obtained in 91 to get those permits are still good if culverts in that area have been shifted and changed? You know, I'm a special educator. I don't do this for a living, but standing out there looking at it, and yesterday I went and stood right in between these 2 lots, and if you just stand there, you can see it with your eyes how this is going to slope, and it's wet. We're in a drought, yet you know my boots were. So I think I'd ask the board to please review this with current information, not information from 1991.
Thank you. Would anyone else like from the public not involved like to, or neighbors of others, anybody like to make a testimony? Then I'll invite,
I'll take this one.
oh yeah, please. Please introduce yourself.
Hi, I'm Chris Brooks. I live in East Middlebury.
Just as a matter of procedure, Chris wasn't here when you took the oath, so you.
Oh, yeah, thank you.
I
Just
should be
walked in.
sworn in.
Yeah, if you'll just raise your hand. I hereby swear or affirm that any testimony I give tonight is true and accurate to the best of my knowledge.
I do.
And if you haven't, before you leave, you need to sign in.
I will, gladly. Sorry I'm late.
What was your last name?
Brooks.
Brooks.
I live nearby. I'm an environmental attorney and I teach at UVM's Rubenstein School of Natural Resources. I'm also a member of Middlebury's Conservation Commission. I'm not appearing on behalf of the Conservation Commission today, but I can say that I can share some views of that group. And so I just have a few concerns. These lots in question are not desirable lots. I mean, they're wet and there's a steep slope, and there's a reason why they weren't developed when this original development went in. These lots are in fact probably a prerequisite to continue with phase 2 of this development, which is more problematic in my concern, but beyond the purview of this current hearing. But I like to say two things. This is an area that is within the Wellhead Aquifer Protection Zone in Middlebury, and this is a key issue. There are concerns with the airport. There's also concerns with trying to figure out where the next wellhead is going to be. So we're currently on the search for well 5. I'm not sure if it's 5 or 6, but we're on the search for the next well. And this area of town, really between where this map lies and 116, is a tremendously important zone for water. There's gravels, the water is, and water quality is tremendously important there. If you look at the quarry, which would actually be visible in this map if you could see where the quarry was, they actually dug all the way down to the water table and stopped when before they should have stopped. So water quality is a huge concern, not only for these 2 discrete lots, but for any of the future phases of this development from the 80s as it was originally proposed. As Judy and others have said, this is also a really rich area in terms of natural communities, not just wetlands. It's rich in terms of biodiversity. It's an important wildlife corridor for us. On the Conservation Commission, if we're looking at wildlife corridors and where we want to protect, it's essentially along Muddy Brook in that area north of town. If you kind of blur your eyes and look at the map, you've got this huge forest block, the Green Mountain National Forest. So in the northern section of town, it's in the vicinity of Northern Brook, where we've lost these historic clay plain forests that have been ditched and dredged and set up for ag. And it's down in our area of town, in East Middlebury, along the East Middlebury River, trying to figure out how we provide wildlife connectivity between the huge forest block to the east and areas further in the valley closer to the lake.
Thank you.
So this is an important area for conservation, and this is an area where our current Conservation Commission is really wanting to target for conservation and advocating for new language in the town plan respecting that. In the broader picture, because we're not just a little town, there's broader conservation and biodiversity efforts going on in Vermont, including a state statute passed by our neighbor Amy Sheldon in East Middlebury, dedicating the state to conserving 30% of Vermont by 2030 and 50% by 2050. So as the Conservation Commission and the Development Review Board sort of considers how we fit in that progress, it's important that we make strategic decisions about where we develop and where we don't. And I think that this area of forest is clearly not a place that should be prioritized for development for all of the reasons that I just stated. I think that's all of my testimony, unless you all have questions or comments for me.
Any questions? Great, thank you, Chris. Would anyone else like to testify on this hearing tonight? Anybody online? Stacy, is your hand still up from taking the oath?
No, it's me asking to speak briefly, if you don't mind.
Great, thank you. Please, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So we can also attest to the wildlife around our area. We have seen bear, we've seen fox, we have seen bobcats, hawks. There's a plethora of deer, there's a plethora of wildlife that we also see just in our yard on Schoolhouse Hill Road, and there is a wildlife path that we hope to preserve. I'm also wondering the permit length of time. So you're talking about this wastewater permit or the permits that go back to 1991 or 1992. As you know very well, we have multiple permits for our house that we've been doing for upgrading our own residence. We have 2 years that we are able to use the permit for it to start doing the improvements on our property. And if we don't do anything within 2 years, we have to reapply. So we're kind of questioning why you can allow a permit from 91 or 92. And then the last point I want to make,
Stacey,
or question,
Stacey, to clarify?
ask. I'm sorry?
To clarify, are you talking about a building permit or a land use permit?
Yeah, I'm talking about a building permit, which I understand is different than a land use permit, but it's still, I really feel like 91 or 92 is just way too long to allow. And then the last point I want to make is we're questioning, we were told a long time ago that there was the possibility of a development going on behind us, but that it would not be able to move forward because of safety reasons, because Schoolhouse Hill Road, as everyone is probably aware, going to East Main Street or 125, there is a hill with a very narrow and very even just one car is not that safe driving down. And we were told that unless something was done to widen that road area, that there would not be a development. So I'm just also wondering what has transpired with that piece of road, and is that still an issue? And that's it for us. So thank you very much.
Thanks, Stacy. I appreciate it. I hope you don't feel like I was attempting to undercut your argument. I was trying to clarify what permit you were talking about.
Yeah, not at all. No, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Just to answer that question to some.
Would you come up and testify and
sure.
introduce yourself?
Dick Turk.
Dick
Just to, I think, because I've been on the planning commission for back in those years. I think the upgrade of the Schoolhouse Hill Road up by the sand pit that she was referring to, I think that refers to phase 2 and 3, not to phase 1. So I think, Stacy, that that's still that hasn't started yet, but because phase 1, in order to start phase 2, they had to sell the lots in phase 1, and so I think back years ago there was an agreement between the town, Carreras, and A. Johnson Company to split 3 ways the cost of upgrading Schoolhouse Hill Road to widen that road at that point. But that was all part of the phase 2 and 3 of the development up there. So I'm not sure that has an effect on this application. This is just more for clarification because I've been involved with it for years. So
Thank you.
As was I.
We never know who will show up from the past public administration in our audience. Thank you for
And
joining us.
I live in 8 Forest Ridge Drive, and I was the first one up there. So,
All right, any other members of the public or abutters, anybody who wants to speak on this topic tonight? All right, I'd like to invite the applicants, the original applicant, not the appellant's representative up. Please introduce yourself.
Well, Jason Lorock, Operating Engineering. For the record, I am the alternate on this board. And to address Chris Giorgio's question, all of my conversation has been with staff in regards to this application and this appeal. I've had no ex parte conversation with any board member, with the exception of
Can
actually.
you speak up, please?
Sorry.
I'm having trouble hearing you.
Yeah, people are having trouble.
So I've had no ex parte conversation with any board members on the DRB. All of my conversations have been with staff. So, and speaking to the wastewater permit, so yes, this was issued in '92. The wastewater regs have actually loosened up. We have a lot more options. We can develop a lot more land that we weren't able to develop back in '92. What we used to refer to as alternative systems are now commonplace. These are in-ground systems and they meet the current rules. So land use permits do not expire, especially wastewater permits. Some do, let me rephrase, that's not actually correct. Act 250 permits expire, which is a land use permit. Stormwater permits expire. Wastewater permits do not. The only cases that they expire is if it's to replace a failed system. Then the state gives you a narrow window to rectify that situation. Otherwise, the permit expires at that point. So these two lots are part of phase 2. It gets a little confusing as you go through the record. But these are the last, there's 3 lots that Mr. Elmicky purchased with a variety of lots he bought from A. Johnson. I'm not here to speak to the remaining parcels. That would be inappropriate at this time, because that's not what this appeal is about. This appeal is strictly about lots 16 and 17, which were permitted, have a wastewater permit. Those plans show a building and drives that meet the current standards. There's Judy's wastewater system sits on lot 17, and actually the wastewater for all 3 lots, Judy's, which is lot 16, 15, 16, and 17 all sit on 17. So, like I said, that permit hasn't expired. As far as wetlands go, where the wastewater system is and above is not a wetland. I've had 3 different wetland people out on this site. I had our on-staff wetlands ecologist. I walked it with her. Knowing that this was being appealed, I had Dory Barton from Arrowwood Environmental come out and take a look at the site. And I also had Zapata Courage look at the site. There is a wetland on the property. That wetland is up in the northwest corner of lot 16, of lot 16.
JR, is your cursor doing active work right now? Are you pointing at that?
I'm not.
Okay.
I've been.
So,
Can you point to it?
Where is this it?
So it's in that northwest corner. Nope, head to the, keep going right in there.
Yeah.
That is far away from where we're developing, where the houses will be and where the wastewater systems. The wells meet the current isolation distance, both wastewater systems that we're putting in and the existing wastewater systems that are on the adjacent lots. So this meets the current zoning. It meets, the current wastewater rules. I've had, like I said, 3 people out there looking at the wetlands. We're not impacting the wetlands on the site. When we look at wastewater, we're not looking at what the soil looks like today. In general, we're looking at, the limiting factors are geologic, basically. So we're looking for models in the soil discoloration in the soil. And these soils were deemed adequate. We've reviewed those test bits, and we're still confident with those test bits. So
Those are the test pits from the 92 permit?
from the 92, which were done by Phelps Engineering and done by a former business partner of mine.
Are you open to our questions now?
Yes, please.
Anybody have a question to start?
I just want to clarify, so you're saying that lot 15's septic system already exists on lot 17?
Yes, that is correct. So the wastewater permit covers all 3 lots. So, and they're individual wastewater systems. In fact, the force main, they're dosing siphons for 16 and 17. And the force main is in place in the right of way where it crosses onto lot 17. It was constructed at the same time lot 15 was constructed.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So I'm sort of tracking in my mind, what's A&R and what's us, and so I'm trying to focus in terms of. So one of the, I think it was Chris, one of the folks who testified, pointed out the wellhead protection zone.
That's correct.
Is that operative, or is that part of a consideration in the design? Or
It is. So, as you know, there's a ton of wastewater systems in that zone. This is, I believe, class is the zone C.
Right.
You can't put a wastewater system in zone A, but zone B and zone C happens all the time. So, I don't see that this adds any undue risk above what's already, in that aquifer.
Right. And in terms of other performance characteristics or requirements that might be part of an administrative permit, like the grade of the driveway, were there other modifications or assertions you had to make as part of this application, or?
No, the intent is to prep the site for resale. So it'll, you're putting in driveway on both lots, doing some filling, then clearing trees.
Great. Any other questions while we have the engineering firm here?
And you're still within the current building envelopes, all that still fits with?
Yeah, everything, those buildings that are shown. So we did not get a building permit.
Mm-hmm.
This is a zoning permit just for the driveway and the site prep. The rationale behind that is he's planning on selling them. So there's no, once again, a building permit expires in 2 years. So there was no reason to get a building permit until someone's ready to build.
Does the site prep permit include any water or wastewater infrastructure?
No.
What about erosion controls?
We would exercise best practices. The state requires us to, we wouldn't need an erosion control permit. Best practice is to put in silt fence, erosion matting as necessary, stabilize construction entrance so that we're not tracking onto the existing road.
Okay.
And that's the case because of the extent of the impact?
No, it's just best practice in general. We wouldn't need a permit for it because of the limited impact.
So can the construction equipment that you need use the existing roadways?
Yes. It is my presumption that road was, just like any road that was being constructed today, was built to B71 standard. I don't think that's anything new. The road's 40 years old, but most of the roads in the state of Vermont are that or older. So. And it is a town road, it is not a private road. So the town can post it as they see fit, but I don't believe there's an issue with accessing the site to do
And
this
so,
or the future.
including turning around,
Yeah.
you use the vault at the end.
Yep. The cul-de-sac was designed to be able to handle that.
Are there other questions, keeping in mind the criteria for an appeal, which I think were put into your packet, that you'd like to have answered, or is there anyone who's testified that you'd like to ask back? Somebody's raised their hand, I might give her a chance to say something quickly, but if there's somebody that you want to ask a question to, please let me know. Thank you. Yeah, Judy?
So I personally would feel better if an independent wetlands ecologist came and took a look at that site as opposed to one that's part of the developer's team.
Right. Okay, so I'll just ask, Jason, was that report of the finding made available to the wetland scientist made available to, or do you have a comment on how?
So I have an email from Father Courage, who is the state wetlands
Right.
ecologist. I have that with stating that there is a wetland
Yeah.
on that northwest corner.
Yeah.
But it also states that this development isn't going anywhere near that, so there's no reason to delineate it.
Okay.
And she is independent, and she is a state employee.
Yeah. Stacy, are you raising your hand?
Yeah, I just want clarification. So are we saying that only, is it lot 17, the northwest area is wetland, not 16 at all?
That's the,
I misspoke. I meant to say 16. 16, the northwest corner of 16.
right.
Oh, okay, and 17 is not? I'm sorry, I probably misheard.
17 is not.
Yeah,
Thank you.
if you could see, I don't know if you can see the exhibit, but where they were pointing was that corner there where the cursor is going is the far northwest corner of 16. Like the last quarter of the lot. Okay. Just a second. Chris? Yeah, please.
Do you know how far the wetland is that Zapata could identify from the building envelope? Well, you say it didn't get delineated, but I think it shows up on the state maps. So someone delineated it. I'm just curious how far.
Just to keep order, I'm going to redirect that question to Jason, just so we don't crosstalk, we get a record, okay?
So it shows up on the Vermont Significant Wetlands Inventory maps. Those are not field verified. When we look at the wetlands maps, there's two things we look for. We look for the state significant wetlands, and we also look at the wetlands advisory layer. We also look at the hydric soil layer. Those three things kind of guide where we're headed. But it still all needs to be field verified because it's not uncommon to get out there and find different soils than is shown on the conservation maps. It's not uncommon to find wetlands where you don't expect wetlands. So I had Dory come out, Dory Byron with Arrowwood Environmental, to look at the property in general. Part of that was, looking at the new, the draft wetlands. A lot of those were over mapped, and I just wanted to make sure that we covered our bases. That wetland is probably at least 100 feet away from the lowest wastewater system that is on that site, which already exists. The two wastewater systems that are to be built for lot 16 and 17 are actually uphill of that existing wastewater system. So way outside of the 50-foot buffer that would be required on that. And it is a class 2 wetland. So a 50-foot buffer is what would be expected on that. And we're way beyond that.
So I'd like to, I know people might want to put in a final comment. JR, you obviously made a staff determination. Any information that you find you're lacking or curious about tonight?
Based on my decision, my original
Yeah,
approval, nothing that's
Okay.
above and beyond
I know it's
anything that's.
uncomfortable, just,
What's that?
I know it's uncomfortable, but
Yeah,
you
yeah.
got the file in your mind, so thought I'd ask. All right, does the board have what they need? Okay, so I would suggest, since we have other applicants here who have had the patience of saints to bear with us here, that we attempt to do a deliberative session after we do the other two hearings, if that's okay with everybody here. Feel like you can hold the information in your mind. So what we do when we make a deliberative session is we'll ask folks to clear the room. It is not for a lack of transparency in the decision. We will come back out of deliberative session before we make any statement or decision, but it allows us to craft a decision so that we can put in any conditions or things like that. So that's why we usually end with a deliberative session. My intention is to do that tonight unless the other two hearings take us till 10 o'clock or something like that. And then, as I said, I'll come back out into open session if we have a decision to deliver, okay? So with that, I'd like to, I'm not going to close this hearing, but I'd like to procedurally, I guess, I don't want to close it because
Recess it.
Yeah, recess it, that's the word, thank you. I'm losing words because I'm so very old.
You don't know about all
Yeah, I'd like to recess this for a minute and see if we can invite our other two applicants up to get through their business, and then we'll come back to this at the end of the night. Okay, thank you for everybody who's testified. I appreciate it. So next item of business tonight is application 2025-008177.000 SD. Is this a request by David Giuliani? Giuliani?
No, we got Logan.
Oh, we're in Logan first. Oh, excuse me. Sorry, because we went out of order. Scratch the last 1 minute of things I was saying. Next up is application file number 2025-025-167.000-SD. A request by Virginia Logan for final plan plat approval for a 2-lot subdivision of the 0.5 acre parcel located at 32 High Street. Pursuant to our regulations in the MZR. This is the subdivision of the property into 2 quarter-acre parcels. Proposed lot 1 contains the existing residence. Proposed lot 2 is proposed to contain the new single-family residence. The property is identified as parcel number 025-167.000 and is in the R4 zoning district. So I'll ask Ms. Logan or her representative to come up. Please introduce yourself. Thank you for bearing with us.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for having me here tonight. My name is Jamie Simpson, and I'm with Landmark Engineering and Design, and I'm representing the applicant, Virginia Logan, on her single lot subdivision in the town of Middlebury. We proposed at the previous sketch plan hearing to do a single family residence on the proposed lot 2.
Yep.
For clarification, I heard you read that it did state a single family residence would be on lot 2, and that part is true, but there would also be an addition of an accessory dwelling unit that was proposed on this new set of plans. The purpose behind that was, given the economic environment that we're in today, construction costs and development costs have exceedingly gone higher, and the applicant felt that it would be advantageous to include a second dwelling unit to help offset those costs. The other part that I would like to discuss with this new application is I believe that we have moved forward with the site plans to answer the questions and concerns that the board had previously. One thing I'd like to comment on is there was some concern about the retaining walls that were on the site. And one of the requests was to move the retaining walls outside of the existing 14-foot wide easement or right-of-way for the neighbors to the north, number 36 High Street. And so that has been done. If you wanted to click on page 2 or sheet 2, you can see that those retaining walls have been moved outside of that access way. Other concerns were regarding stormwater and hillside drainage, which I believe we've addressed in these plans. We're showing different topography or proposed grading contours on that lot 2 near the parking area. Instead of retaining walls on that end of the lot, we decided to grade the property itself with contouring, eliminating some of that extra infrastructure and also allowing the land to free drain, if you will, with sheet flow runoff. We still included the rock-lined swale to help treat and slow flows coming from the paved access drive. And we've also included a catch basin at the end of that swale to get water subsurface. And then that drains southward along that access drive into another structure, which is a drain manhole, which then outlets to the town-owned infrastructure just barely underneath High Street. There's a stormwater trunk that runs north to south, right there where JR's cursor is. We've addressed water and wastewater issues, connections. The water line is on the southern end of the property. And I think sheet 3 should show that exactly. There's a curb stop that's within the right of way down by the driveway. That could be relocated if necessary, but I just show it there for ease of installation. The proposed water line is anticipated to be installed via horizontal directional drilling, meaning there would not be any earth disturbance at the surface. It would be a directional drill that would either drill up or down the hill subsurface, and then you could either utilize that drilled pipe as the water main, or you can use it as a sleeve and run copper through it. And that remains to be an option, I guess, for the applicant to decide which she'd like to prefer. The water line then takes a 90-degree at the property line and runs through a permanent easement to the building structure, the proposed building structure, and there's a sleeve proposed underneath the driveway per Vermont state standards. As far as sewer goes, the sewer is proposed to leave between the two buildings, the proposed two buildings on lot 2. And then that carries down the existing driveway beneath the surface. We're proposing several cleanouts at bends, and also to address any steepness issues, because it's been brought to our attention by the DPW that they are concerned about the steepness of the pipe due to the liquids outrunning the solids. I haven't heard of that happening much with the new pipe materials that we have now, being scheduled SDR 35 storm sewer pipe. However, it's possible, and so we've included these additional cleanouts at all bends to mitigate that issue. As far as connection to the town's infrastructure, we're proposing that we connect with some standard connection types, and there's alternatives which are shown on the details page, but more or less it involves either using a rubber sleeve connection or a new PVC section that is then adapted to the existing sewer pipe that's underneath High Street. or possibly using a combination of the two, depending on what's needed there. But we have submitted to the state of Vermont for a water and wastewater permit, which we have received and was submitted with this application package. So you should have copies of that as well. And as far as other concerns, one of them would be snow removal, and the issue, the option I would say to handle the snow removal would be that we would continue to plow this driveway. I mean, the proposed grades from the newly constructed portion is at 10%. It's not extreme. And then there is, at the end where you see the two cars, there is enough area there just in front of that parking area where snow could be piled up and allowed to be stored as necessary. Just like any other house, if snow was to build up or you had too big of a snowbank, then it's possible that snow would have to be removed from the site, but that's not too common, especially these days. And I guess that's all I would say to this point that I recall for issues that were brought up during the first meeting. I feel like we've addressed them.
Have you had subsequent conversations with DPW since?
So the only conversation I had was to request a meeting to sit down and resolve any questions that the director of engineering had. And unfortunately, she was too occupied to accept my request. So we have not had an opportunity to resolve any questions. She did provide a set of plans which had some comments on it, and I don't know if JR has the ability to pull that up, but it addressed, or attempted to address certain comments such as preferences that they would like to see a structure in High Street where the stormwater line connects instead of
I
just
think we got a digest of this. We did not see the plan, right? But we got the
Right,
digest of
yeah,
what's in our
those,
staff.
yeah, those were taken
Yeah.
directly from, she had written them onto the plans.
Right.
I don't have those readily.
Yeah, no, we've got them in the staff report.
Okay, great.
So, have you had a chance to review those plans, the comments that were made?
I did.
So I'm gonna ask a sort of just a clarifying question, which is, are any of those items that were requested things that you or your client think are a bad idea or that are impossible to achieve? Or just trying to think ahead.
Sure, I don't think that any of those items that were requested are impossible, but I would suggest or recommend that maybe some aren't necessary, such as a hydraulic evaluation of the town's infrastructure based on a 25-year, 2-year storm. I don't think that would be necessary from the amount of runoff produced from this type of development. I don't believe that we are required to treat for a 25-year storm. I think it's actually a 2-year storm based on the regulations that I went through, which that tank, right now it's called out as a 1,000 gallon, but it should be probably upgraded to a 2,000 gallon, which essentially is the same footprint. It just would be a slightly deeper tank. And that would allow for a 2-year, 24-hour storm volume to be retained in that tank structure.
So where I'm going with this is that nobody on this board, even our alternate, without our alternate anyway, nobody on this board has a lot of expertise in knocking out technical points of stormwater or town infrastructure. So I'm asking if these are things that are yet to be resolved that could be resolved with a meeting with DPW coming up, hopefully, that you can schedule in the future. I'm just wondering if we have all the answers here. Is that a reasonable question from the board? I don't want to speak for you, but, okay.
So to answer that question, yes, I think we could resolve the issues that are outstanding right now with the DPW.
Okay. I'm sorry to interrupt. I was just saw a point that seemed important.
Yep. No, I'd like to keep this as concise as possible. So if you have any additional questions, I'd be happy to answer them, but I think that I've given you the information I wanted to provide. for the site plan.
Yeah, I appreciate the very clear drawing, and actually the things that I was looking for are very clearly presented there. And I think recall major issues. JR, are there other issues that we know staff was looking to have answered, other than the list from DPW? Yeah, I have your report.
Yeah. The big one was what Jamie referenced in regards to the hydraulic impacts of a 25-year storm. But I don't, seems like that could be conditioned to be met.
Right. All right, any other questions from the board, specific topics you want the applicants to address? I see a shake of the head, No. Okay, great, thank you for the presentation. If you, I'd like to invite if there's any other member of the public, neighbor, who wants to talk. Yeah, please come up and introduce yourself.
My name is Ann Larrow, and I am the resident of 36 High Street, which is immediately above Virginia's lot. I have a couple of questions. At the last review board meeting, we raised concerns about snow removal, and the board did indicate that there would need to be a shared driveway maintenance discussion and agreement amongst the parties. There's been no conversation about that. I know Jamie just mentioned about plowing. Our driveway, our deeded right-of-way driveway that goes up to our home, has never, we've had to plow it. We've lived there for over 24 years. We've had to plow it a couple of times due to some personal circumstances that prevented my husband from being able to do the snow blowing. But there is not an easy way to plow our driveway because there's no place to put the snow. You can only plow up, and there's no place to put the snow except to the triangle you see in between the driveway and High Street.
Yep.
And for what we would need to clear from the driveway up to ours, when we would not have the ability to remove that snow to anywhere. Currently, and again for the 24 years, we've maintained that driveway and we have blown the snow off, not plowed it. And we have to snow blow a portion of it, frankly, right where Virginia's proposed driveway to the new second back lot would be. So we're losing some of our ability to remove snow from our property, and we would love to believe there's a solution that can be reached, but there's been no conversation about the shared maintenance that was referred to in the earlier meeting. Along those same lines, just sticking with the driveway for a minute, we continue to have concerns both about I know that for the entirety of the construction project, we would not be blocked from access to our home, but there's a significant amount, especially now that the second drawing shows what appears to be underground garaging for both the single family dwelling and the ADU. I'm assuming that's why those cars are like under the building picture. There's a significant amount of earth moving that's going to happen to accomplish this project, and we have two concerns in that regard. The first is about access to our home during the construction project, as well as, frankly, I think I'm a little confused by what Jamie was just referring to about how I'm not trying to direct it, for some reason I wanted to look at him, but he talked about how the new plumbing and sewer and water and everything would go through. I'm confused how that won't require some of our driveway to be removed for a portion of time in order to lay pipes, but perhaps what Jamie just said changes the need for that. So, we have access questions. We also want to know that, as we have always maintained that driveway and are the ones who have paved it, that the wear and tear that's going to occur on that driveway surface related to the construction vehicles that are going to need to be used to build the proposed housing will be returned to a pre-construction condition at the conclusion of the construction project. Related to that underground garaging and the project in general, we have concerns related to, there are portions of Chipman Hill that are ledge. We know the neighbors immediately to the north of us wound up in a circumstance where, like, literally as they were beginning construction, they had to move the planned location of their home because as they were working to build it, they ran into ledge in Chipman Hill. And so I had asked previously, and I think this was back when Virginia put in the first petition for the subdivision, which was quite a few years ago, about whether or not blasting would be needed, because blasting will, I don't know what the rules are regarding blasting, but blasting for us and the foundation of our home so nearby would be of considerable concern to us. I'm sorry, I'm just looking at my notes. Access during construction, shared driveway, maintenance, underground garages, and blasting. We did notify Virginia this week and we gave a copy of the letter to JR. This is not a matter for this board, but our attorney advised us to make the board aware of it. So if you're looking at the image that you have up in front of you, you can see that the deeded property line runs directly through a maple tree and through part of our driveway. And that square that's a little bit south of the property line runs down, and that's actually a fence. It's a fence that was in existence when we bought the house, and at the time that we bought the house, what shows as a paved area of the driveway, but I guess to the south of our home, like the car that's in front of our home drives into our underground garage, and then that paved area south of that car in this drawing has been parking that was used by the prior owner of our home. And at the time we purchased the home, we were told that that was our property. We've maintained the property, we've maintained the driveway, we've had use of the property since we bought the house in 2001. And in consultation with an attorney, what we've learned is that we have what would likely be a very open and shut case related to adverse possession of that portion of the property. The reason that I mention this is only because we are not planning on moving the fence if it's required for any of the construction that's planned, and we're not planning on giving up any use of our driveway as it relates to this. We notified Virginia, and again, I know this isn't a matter for this panel, I'm just, I was advised by my attorney to make sure I raise the issue, that we don't plan on giving up the use of that land. Ideally, an easement in the same way that we have the deeded right-of-way to our property would be issued by Virginia. There are alternative ways for us to settle it that obviously involve litigation. We're not looking to do that. We understand it's not going to impact whether or not her lot is subdividable. But we are saying we're not going to give up use of that land, and to the extent that any of the plans that have been created are affected by that, it's appropriate to let this board know of that situation. And that leads to the final question, which is the northern retaining wall that I know Jamie referred to. He had changed some of the positioning of it to meet a requirement of this board at the last meeting. You can see that it goes towards the west, and then it takes a right-hand turn onto some of the property that we're, not much, but some of the property that we're asserting our adverse possession claim to. We're a little concerned about exactly what the plan would be related to. We had always planned to put a retaining wall right there, and so we don't have an issue with a retaining wall being there. I can tell you that currently drainage from behind our house, which is a significant problem. Our yard is wet for usually until at least last week of May, first week of June. Our backyard behind our house retains a great deal of the water, or processes a great deal of the water that comes from the snow melt on Chipman Hill. And a great deal of it winds up draining in this weird kind of pre-existing little gully in that what would be the piece of lawn in between the parking area and the fence and the maple tree. And it flows out of there and goes through a little bit of an area and winds up in a swale that goes down the remainder of the driveway. And we just want to ensure whether it's jointly addressed by our completing the retaining wall that Jeannie's showing going up just a little bit into the paved portion, but that appropriate drainage would be included. Like I've heard him talk about plans for the swale and the drainage on the sides of the new driveway, but we would need to make sure that any water that's getting built up behind that retaining wall also has the ability to drain down out through it and into whatever resources need to handle that. So shared driveway access. The other thing about it is that small piece of land, the way that we currently mow that little thing, that little area, is literally by just going up the edge of the paved area and coming around to it, because there's about a 3 foot differential in height between that green part and our driveway. And at this point, if a retaining wall goes there, our option is going to be to put a push mower down our driveway, up High Street, through two neighbors' driveways, down through our backyard, and through a fence line in order to mow that little green patch. I suppose you could argue we could just use a weed whacker and sway it along there, but it's an access issue to us in terms of maintaining that section of the property. So those were all of my questions or concerns. I also will just say that my husband and I were caught off guard and concerned to see this second site plan include plans for an additional dwelling unit. That was not part of the original presentation. I know your decision is about the subdivision, not of the parcel at this point in time, not the actual building plans. I know there are other apartment buildings in our neighborhood, houses with apartments built into them in our neighborhood, but the idea of Virginia building a house that might have had her or a guest or a partner at some points, 2 cars in that driveway, now showing an additional dwelling unit with parking for 2 underneath that house, parking for 2 underneath her house, and parking for 2 more cars to the side of the house. I won't lie that it was a little bit startling to see the change in the plan. And we continue to have concerns about, I know Jamie has indicated that they've answered some questions for DPW related to drainage. I can just tell you, with adding that much pavement and knowing the amount of water that already goes down our driveway, it's a significant amount of I don't know if I'll say the right word, non-permeable surface, and there will be an impact on rain flow down the driveway regardless of a swale or any drainage on the side. And we say that having lived in the house above it for the last 24 years and having watched the rain go down the driveway during storms, including just the few storms we've had this last couple of weeks. So that's it, unless you have a question.
I'm all set. Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you.
Does anybody else in the public wish to testify about this project? Do you want to call the applicant's engineer back up, or can you invite him back up? Jamie, you want to come back up and quickly hit a couple of points?
So, a lot of information that was presented there and a lot to digest, I'm sure. But all I'd like to say at this point is that the retaining walls that were proposed in all locations are going to be drained on the back side of them. So any groundwater or any surface water that's running toward those retaining walls will be drained appropriately to that swale and then again underground via PVC pipes. If you go to sheet 5, I believe, which is a grading plan. 1 month.
And 8's the detail.
Yeah. So this is the grading plan, and it also shows, you know, in bold, like where the retaining walls are to be placed and where stormwater drainage will be happening. But what I want to point out specifically is on the back side of each of those retaining walls, there is a drainage pipe with stone, and it's all detailed on sheet 8, 7 and 8, that show drainage outletting to the swale and to the catch basin that goes underground to the town-owned infrastructure. So to answer the question about drainage, there will be drainage on the site. And I don't also necessarily see a problem with having underground garage space, considering the neighbor to the north also has similar circumstances. And then I think it maximizes the space that's available and minimizes impact rather than having a giant parking lot off to the south end of the lot. That's all I'd like to say.
Did you want to cover the snow removal or anything that was brought up? I assume nobody's going to weigh on the adverse possession claim tonight. It was more than I thought I was coming to tonight. But do you want to address anything about shared maintenance or snow removal?
Yeah, I mean, ultimately, there does need to be an agreement in place. I think that's a requirement per the regulations, that there needs to be a shared agreement in place for the driveway maintenance. So the applicant and the Laros are gonna have to come up with a joint agreement about who's going to take care of what portions and how, and where that's going to be disposed or stored. However, just given what is being proposed here tonight, I don't see an issue with a plow truck maintaining, at least plowing half of that on the way up, getting up to the top, delivering that snow and pushing it to where the south end of where those two cars are parked and storing it on that bank. And then if any additional snow needs to be removed, then maybe that same company also snow blows the remaining portion. That's to be determined, but it's not really necessarily a deal breaker, I feel like, for this application.
Any other questions for the applicant while they're up here? Or
Can I have one?
just 1 second. Yeah, just one minute. Other questions that you feel like you need answered while we have the applicant?
I don't necessarily know if it's in subdivision related, but, you know, there is a concern about the ledge. Is that something that's discussable at this point in terms of blasting and stuff?
I actually would ask JR for advice on this one. The construction operations and impacts, you know, at this point in is this an appropriate point in the review to discuss it? It could be conditioned, right? Like,
Could be conditioned, I mean, this is an application for subdivision and not construction.
correct. Yeah.
So,
Yeah, it's always an unknown that's out there,
Right.
but what we're doing right now is the land use piece.
Right.
right, exactly.
Can I speak to it?
Please.
Blasting is not the only alternative for ledge removal. So there can also be hydraulic hammers used on equipment.
Yeah.
It's loud, it's annoying, but it's not as destructive or impactful to neighboring properties. So that would be an alternative to consider if we do encounter ledge. I will also say that Virginia Logan in 2019, I believe, had test pits performed in the area of the driveway, just south of that maple tree, that indicated no depth to ledge after, I think it was at least 15 feet deep, it might have been more. There were test pits dug there for ledge, it's ledge probe essentially. So as far as ledge is concerned, we're not too concerned at this point, but there are alternatives to deal with it if we do find it. And another alternative is that, excuse me, not alternative, but if ledge was to be found and it was determined that blasting was the only method of removal, any blasting operation has to have an entire blasting plan, which means they have to survey the basements of all the surrounding properties. It's a requirement, they can't blast without doing that.
Yeah.
So there's a precondition and a post-condition, and everything gets analyzed, so.
Yeah,
Just want to mention
I
that.
think you can assume sophistication on that topic of the board and staff, so.
Great.
Okay. Any other issues with the DPW stuff? I mean, they're open questions, basically. Okay. I'm sorry, you testified earlier. Can you remind me of your name?
Ann Lara,
Ann wanted to make one more point or a question.
do I need to come up?
Just say it to me. I think that's
Okay.
fine. How we-
I guess a couple of additional notes related to the testimony just given. We don't have an issue with the idea of the garages. We were surprised by the garages, the second plan indicating the ADU, and just by the implication that there could wind up being 6 cars going up our shared driveway and parking in that area. We
Okay.
do have an underground, it's kind of not an underground garage because it was built, it was poured on the end of the house, so it's.
Yeah, just to tell you where the board's coming from, it doesn't matter what's on the one next door. It's a color, so we'll take it with a grain of
So,
salt.
I will just say that, in January of 2024, I believe, one of the last couple of Januaries, there was a windstorm that caused locust trees to fall that are all along a strip in the back of Virginia's yard, our yard, and another neighbor's yard. And 2 of the trees from Virginia's property fell across our fence line. And we had the trees removed and we repaired the fence. And at the June meeting where the first proposal was presented, we said in a conversation out in the hallway that we had never had any idea that our fence line was on Virginia's property. And Virginia disclosed that she had known from the time she had the first survey done that our fence was on her property. And I bring that up just because it's difficult to envision at this point in time any, I just believe that there will be difficulties with amicable resolutions to shared driveway at this point in time. And again, probably not anything you guys have to care about, but it's a concern for us. We do not have a open and I would say friendly relationship with Virginia.
Yeah.
And so that's a problem it's a concern for us in terms of whether or not we can reach an amicable solution.
I hear you. Got it. Thank you. All right. I would like to ask the board what you want to do tonight because it's proceeding, we're getting pretty late in the night. Yep.
Ayla Pescott, just, you might be heading in this direction, but I've been
You
following.
sworn in, I'm sorry, I think you
Yeah.
got here late too, didn't you?
Did you take the oath?
Yes.
Is he sworn in?
He said he is. He said he's for it.
Might be worth doing just in case.
Yeah, go ahead.
Did you
So,
take,
we're good?
did you take the oath?
I took the oath.
Okay.
Yep. So the question is, I've been following this for a while. It's been going on for many, many, many months. And you might have been heading in this direction anyway, but I'd like some clarification on what stage we're at and what to expect, how many more meetings, when do you deliberate and make a final decision? And so if you can just speak to that, it's a procedural question.
Yeah, I don't think we know the procedure until we get through the testimony right now, but it, yes, it is.
You don't know the procedure until you get through the testimony.
Well, this is the board, that's what I'm kind of getting at is.
So it could be another meeting, another 2 meetings, just give me some sense, like.
So I'll just lay out a couple
I'd like to know
of,
how.
yeah, we're not gonna tell you everything that we might possibly do, but just to give you a couple of options. One is that the board could decide that we do not have the information we need on some particular issue, so we need to continue to another hearing. Another is that we could decide that we have what we need tonight and could make a decision either in front of you, or the board could choose to go to deliberative session after this meeting. We could even go to deliberative session, come out of it and say, we don't have what we need to have a conversation with staff on X, Y, and Z. That's why I'm reticent, it's not just procedural.
So if there wasn't enough information for the board to deliberate and there is called for there to be another meeting, could then that happen again?
Yeah,
Okay.
absolutely.
Good.
Yeah, the board won't make a decision until we feel like the issues are resolved or are able to be resolved by being conditioned in the decision. Like, you must resolve this before. That's usually how things go. And this is not a direct comment on how the outcome of this. I'm just saying procedurally that's how we work.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Need anything else from the applicant? All right, what's your pleasure? I would accept a motion if you want to, recess this hearing and go to deliberative session. If you want to make a motion for a decision.
We're gonna have a deliberative session anyway, so we might as well talk it out then.
That was my intention too. So 2 of us feel that way. How do you guys feel about that?
Okay.
Okay. All right, so thank you all for your testimony tonight. I'd like to recess the hearing for this matter. We're going to come back in deliberative session to deliberate and see if we can come to a decision tonight. Again, I will not make a decision. We will not make a decision until we come back out into public hearing so that it becomes part of the record. If there is a decision issue and you choose to leave before that decision, I completely understand it's quite late. You can call JR in the morning to find out what that decision was, and it'll be made final in like 45 days is how long it takes him. I'm going to suggest that we offer our...
I hate to say this. I do apologize truly. Can you say that again? So it could take JR 45 days from tonight to issue?
Generally speaking, when this board makes a determination, makes a decision, he has 45 days under statute in order to make that final, to deliver a written decision. The decision of the board is what we say, but the actual legal decision is the written decision.
Yeah, 45 days is after the next meeting.
45 days is after the date of the decision, the date we make the decision. Yeah, that's when the clock starts. Is that correct?
Correct.
Yeah,
So
it's just his requirement. He could deliver it in 24 hours,
Okay.
or he could deliver it.
I realize this is just, I could probably read this in the handbook.
No, it's
Thank you for clarifying.
No, that's good. Yeah, ask any question you like. All right, so we are in recess. I would suggest that we take just 3 or 4 minutes if somebody wants to go to the restroom. Not for Gary.
No, anyway.
Stacy, have a question or?
I don't know, I'm trying to figure that out.
I do. I'm so sorry.
I'm sorry, we recessed the hearing, Stacy. I don't even have a quorum in the room right now.
Okay. I can wait.
Yeah,
If I have the opportunity to ask the question later.
stand by for a second, and we'll figure that out. I apologize, I didn't see your emoji hand there.
That's all right. That's all right. Thank you.
I don't know how to deal with that. I've recessed that hearing, the applicants are gone.
Well, I don't know if your question may be something unrelated to the application too.
Right. Yeah, but it would be part of the hearing record. Yeah. Well.
She has a procedural, I mean, she may have procedural questions.
Yeah, okay. We'll wait till everybody's back in the chair.
Yeah, my apologies, but when I saw Jamie Simpson, it reminded me of a very important question we have for the first hearing, so
okay, just hang out for a second. I still don't have a quorum in the room.
Yeah, no worries, thank you.
Thank you. So this is never, not that I remember, I don't remember this ever happening where I've recessed a hearing or got out of a hearing prior to, and then had somebody, turned out that they had raised their hands. Usually I see them in the room.
Right.
I don't see that it's fair for me to reopen the hearing as the applicants are gone at this point.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
I don't think our questions pertaining to James. It's not James. It's the person.
Oh, I see. Right, of course. Okay, thank you.
Jamie just triggered the question.
Yeah.
Next Monday, right?
Oh, thank you. So we're all back in and are we recording?
Yes.
Great, thank you. For folks who are in here or online, so I made a mistake. I did not see that Stacy Gillett from the first item had her hand up. So I think as just a comment in a general meeting, we'll ask her if she wants to make her comment here to the board, and I will relay it into the record if we reopen the hearing in that matter. Is that okay, Stacy?
Yes, I think I understand.
Yeah, I just don't want to pretend like we're in a hearing when the appellant and other actors and testifiers aren't in the room. So if you would make a comment to me, I will be sure to relay it at the appropriate time, okay?
Oh, yes, very understandable. When do you want me to ask my question, though?
Right now would be a great time.
Okay. Thank you, so sorry.
No, it's not your fault, I didn't see you. Thanks.
Yeah, so what I was saying was, a really, in my opinion, a really important question came up that and my apologies for not bringing it forth earlier, but when we saw Jamie Simpson with Landmark Engineering, we were like, whoa, wait a minute, what about, so our wastewater permit was updated, and it's through Landmark where it's locating our water source on lot 17, which I believe is in this appeal. So I think that needs to be put into record, and I don't know how that gets addressed.
No, I appreciate it. I think that's a factual matter that I can inquire about, so I can pass on that question and make sure it's addressed, okay?
Thank you very much, I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. All right, I'd like to open the third item of the night. This is,
There's Judy's hand up. I don't know.
we have two hands up.
No.
I can't reopen the hearing.
All I want to know is, if I'm here.
You are here.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I didn't see that you were on the list. It's across the room. Thank you.
Okay,
You are here.
just want to make sure I'm here.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.
Yes.
Bye.
Did you have a point on that one?
I just want to know if I'll have an opportunity to address that.
Okay.
Either after deliberative or.
Yeah,
Deliberative. I don't want to delay the.
thank you. Yeah, that was my intent, was to make sure that you had an opportunity to talk about that, if it's a question that the board is interested in. So I'd rather move on to the next topic, though, if that's okay. So the next item on tonight's agenda is application 2025-08177.000ST. That's a request by David Giuliani for a final plan plat approval of a proposed 3-lot subdivision. This is of the 6.839 acre parcel located at 115 Deerfield Lane. Pursuant to the regulations MZR, the applicant proposes subdividing the property into 3 parcels of 1.59, 0.65, and 4.3 acres. Proposed lot 1 contains an existing single-family residence. Proposed lots 2 and 3 do not have any proposed development in this action. The property is identified as parcel 008177.000 in the R20 zoning district. Is there a representative of the applicant here, or the applicants?
The applicant, this is my wife.
Hi. So first of all, I'm sorry that we've gone so long tonight. I thought that the first matter we moved up front we did that because we thought it was quick. Thank you for being patient. So please take a moment and introduce yourselves and tell us what you're proposing.
My name's Dave Giuliani.
I'm Chelsea Giuliani.
And we own approximately 6.4 acres just north of the Middlebury Middle School. When we purchased it in 2021, it was zoned for ag. And during the last rezoning, it's been designated R20. We worked with Otter Creek Engineering to do a proposed 3-lot subdivision where we will have our existing home, which you can see in the middle of that. We'll have about 1.5 acres, a little bit over, 1.65, I think. Just to the north of that will be a lot that we will retain for right now, about 0.65. And then the remaining 4.5 acres or so is an L-shaped lot that goes across Deerfield Lane, which is a private road. And it is our intention to sell that for the developer who can put up with all this, because we can't. We've worked with previously with Jim Murray and Dave Wetmore. I did get the notes from Brett Mikowski from you, and also can address the water concerns that we were informed about. I do have some of the drawings. We've got a whole ream of them. But tonight, this is our intention, is to get final approval, hopefully, to sell some land and hopefully get some development in the, and this is in the designated neighborhood area.
Right. Whoever that developer may be is not identified, or at least they're not a part of this application, right?
Correct. There's no buildings yet.
There's no partner.
Yeah.
So first I'll ask members of the board if they have a particular question about this item.
I guess I didn't see, what was the water question?
It was in an email. One of the concerns is we don't have any designs yet to bring water. We have a single service.
Okay, all right, water line, okay.
Yeah, but whoever buys it and develops it will have to address that.
Gotcha, okay, I was confused, sorry.
Yep.
You have a service to lot 1.
Right.
Right? the service is in place to lot one,
Yes,
but you don't have
correct,
service to the out, to
And
lot
probably had to
two.
upgrade ours at that time and some other things. Yeah.
Got it, okay.
And the road access requires that you go through the middle school parking lot to get
Correct.
to your driveway, right?
Correct,
And that's
yeah.
the same as what's proposed going forward.
Yes, if there's more development, which we're intending, at the bottom, where our mailbox currently is, at the bottom of Deerfield Lane, right where it meets the parking lot. We have a drawing here for a stop bar and stop sign on, coming out of our property to allow middle school parking lot to not be affected.
Jerry, that's a town road, right? That loop there, or is it?
It's private.
It's all private.
It's a private road?
Yeah.
Okay.
And I've met with and spoken to, I don't have the date of my meeting with Dr. Wendy Baker, but I met with multiple times with Matt Carenti. They're well aware of our intentions, they're on board. The two residences, private residences right there, the Clatts and the Dupois, I have presented to them what our intentions are, they've signed off that they're on board and okay with it, and I've got copies of those. And back when it was, it's not McGee, what was it before? McGee?
Denick or.
Yeah, whenever, the guys from New York, we did talk with them, and they were aware, but now it's switched owners, and now it is McGee. And also Stonehill is aware of our intentions as well.
Are there any issues in terms of the shared road use?
Yeah, it mentions a shared driveway agreement across the 3 lots.
Yep. So anything that has to happen, we have to, I'm aware we're probably gonna have to develop some kind of HOA when this does start to get built out, but whoever is going to be developing it is gonna have to come to an agreement with the school, and that was what, I think one of these is. Yeah, so this is a drawn up map from for the proposed upgrade to the road and stop signage at the bottom of Deerfield Lane where it meets Deerfield Lane, I guess, where it meets the parking lot. And this has all been talked about with the school and the neighboring houses.
But that right of way runs with lot 3. That's part of the acreage of lot 3, right? Is that what I'm reading in the plan?
Acre,
No, it's the remainder lot, sorry. Is the right of way its own parcel? I'm not understanding, sorry. It might
the
be
right of way for going up Deerfield, it's gonna go with lot 3.
It's gonna go with lot 3, okay,
Yes,
good.
yes.
All right.
There's also a note about showing the building envelopes. Are you able to show building envelopes, or do you have them on those other plans? That
So it wasn't in our intention to do any of the development anyway, so we don't have any proposed building envelopes. There were a couple ideas thrown around of where to put lots and, multifamily homes here and there, but we didn't draw it up. That's gonna be for the person who actually makes the application for the building permits.
Yeah, so we asked for size of building envelopes because it shows that a lot is buildable vis-a-vis, setbacks, wetlands. So in the case of something that is going higher density commercial, or higher density residential, I should say, was this land ever delineated for wetlands or?
No, there's no, there are no wetlands on there. There is I don't know if you can pull up the topo, but there's a stream, I can't think of the name of it, that goes behind it.
Yeah.
But not where, not on our property, no.
Right.
And we've done the wetlands map, it's not on there.
And the two homes there are the neighbors that you mentioned, the ones that we can see in the area?
Yes.
Because they're on the map.
Yeah.
When you say allocated for higher density,
I'm just saying, you know, if we were in a zone where the only potential use was a single family home, then it would be easier to put a home site down and delineate that the home site is here versus a, you know, a wetland area or a setback or whatever. It seems like you're selling this to a commercial developer who might potentially have another plan. Go ahead, Jane.
Well, I'm just thinking, at a minimum, it does seem like we're supposed to show building envelopes per the subdivision rules. So even if it's just the setbacks, the coverage, but to delineate where that buildable envelope could be, not to suggest it's a home site or a commercial site, but what those parameters are and put that on the map.
Right, it's truly an envelope, not a building footprint. Yeah.
Can we put it anywhere?
No, because you would need to demonstrate how it meets the zoning standards for this district. So what is the setback from each of the property lines and?
Yeah, so similar to this map here, these.
But it doesn't look like a building footprint, it's just the area in which the development can go.
Right, the point is just that you demonstrate that it is a lot that's buildable when you subdivide it. And that is something that doesn't need to hold the process necessarily. If everything else were buttoned up, we could say you have to, for example, show that to staff, demonstrate to staff. You know.
So we need to demonstrate the.
Well, we're not giving you the decision right now. We're just we're going through issue by issue. That is something that we.
Because that's a condition.
Yeah, you might ask. So I had a note in the staff report that confused me, which is plat recording requirements. Are there other plat recording requirements that are at issue here, JR?
Just the envelope, I believe.
Yeah.
It does mention, JR, this A&R also identifies a possible wetland within the same area. Not confirmed if a wetland does exist.
Yeah, the layer does show that, but again, there's, as was discussed earlier, there's three. But I'm showing let's see.
It shows up on a layer.
It shows up on a layer, but it's not.
Delineated.
Yeah, delineated.
Are you able to pull it up, Darryl?
Sure.
Better get that out of the way, Rob.
Advisory. There you go.
I think there was. Yeah, so
So part of the discipline of having you tell us where the building envelope might be is that you take responsibility to say, like, here is the area that is buildable outside of any wetland or setback requirements, rather than us kind of turning on layers in the meeting. Then you have the responsibility for understanding those things. Is that a fair way to say that?
yeah.
So that the road is not designed at this point. It's just a right of way.
Deerfield Lane,
No, the
Deerfield Lane is
right
a
of way
reference
to the
to it.
property. Yeah,
beyond the existing home.
beyond the existing. Presumably, it might need a road to a different standard for the service of the future lots or future development.
Yeah, the right of way is sufficient for
Anything.
the scope of density that's available.
Sure. Any other questions, the board? Good. You good?
I have two more questions. So one's for JR. So the shared access agreement that's referenced in the staff analysis, is that access within the private existing road, including the school district access and the other two property owners, or is that the shared access agreement among the three future owners of these lots, or both?
Good question. At minimum, the proposed three, but it is all, I mean, as the applicant testified already, he's been in contact with all parties who are on board, so I think we can make that decision as a condition, one way or the other.
And then the last note about applicant needs to demonstrate compliance with state wastewater permitting. So that's a requirement of the subdivision as well.
It's a question to, DPW's has made comment that water and sewers is extendable there. We don't know to what extent. I'm just referencing the issue we had with the previous subdivision that we approved without a wastewater, that had to get wastewater in the meantime after the decision. I just want to make clear that it's an open question as to a deferral language versus non-deferral language. Is there a significant difference given that town infrastructure is available there?
Approving subdivision before the wastewater.
Right.
Yeah, I think we would expect at least the deferral language, right? So that we have something in the decision stage.
Yeah, that's the question. Deferral, I think, is dependent on an on-site septic and not necessarily town water. That it's an open question that I needed to answer around.
Okay.
DPW's, we don't know what allocations are, there's no allocation requested, but services are available. Is that sufficient? Is that knowledge sufficient short of a deferral language?
Do we know that the services are available because you've asked them?
Yes, DPW
Okay,
has.
you said there was this application.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that was.
But it's even a question for them as, it's extendable there, but, and it's extendable at the density of R12. I just don't have.
Right, doesn't mean that it's designed, that it's economic, that it's,
Exactly.
feasible in the manner of unknowns that are in anything that goes in the ground.
Right.
Yeah. There's not a plan for it yet.
But without requiring that there is a plan, right?
I don't think so. I think we have to have that deferral, that some language saying that it's coming though, right?
We have it from DPW.
Okay.
The question remains as to, is that sufficient?
Yeah.
For us to improve the subdivision?
Gene, did you pop open the actual subdivision ordinance language?
No, I'm just looking at the
the staff.
the stuff.
Yeah. Is there language in the subdivision ordinance directed toward this? Yeah. I apologize, I don't have it in front of me tonight.
I'm just looking for testimony as to, is the DPW statement sufficient versus do we need deferral language as we did before?
Okay, all right, I think I understand. So has everybody got their questions out to the Julians? Okay, so thank you. I'd like to invite anyone else who's here for this hearing who'd like to testify, please step up. Anybody else in the room or anybody else online for this hearing? Okay. Thank you. So what is your pleasure, board members? Do you want to?
We're going to executive session anyway, so we might as well wrap it up all in there and then come out and have.
All right. Now, I accepted a comment from Stacy based on not seeing her earlier that was related to, so we should recess this hearing. Right?
And we got, the appellant is online, right?
Yeah, the appellant is online. So we're going to recess this hearing. I'm going to go back to the hearing item that Stacy made her comment in, and I'm going to just ask Jason if you would address it really quickly before we go into the deliberative session. Does that work for you?
Yeah, you want to make sure Judy's actually there?
Yeah, Judy, are you there? You said you were here, so.
Sorry, yes, I'm here.
Okay, thank you. I just want to make sure you're here in the room. I'm going to ask Jason to address the question that Stacy asked, or point that she raised, and you guys are all set. We'll go into deliberative session and come up with a decision.
Can I ask a question? Sure. Okay. So you guys are going to come up with these, when you go into executive session, you guys are going to come up with the conditions that we need to bring back to you, hopefully within the next 2 weeks to the next DPW meeting?
Yeah, JR will have some sort of idea for a schedule, but it'll be a decision and or a list of things that we need to see.
Okay, and we don't have to stay for tonight.
There's no need.
Just check in with
JR in the morning. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So that hearing's in recess. Jason, do you want to join us real quick? To address that point.
I will. So, before the Gillettes bought this property, the Joneses had a new wastewater system designed for the property. As part of that, there was a new well sited. That new well is on, at the time, the Joneses' property. It was believed that the well was a spring underneath the house. That well has never been drilled. The Gillettes have subsequently gotten another wastewater permit that still shows that proposed well on their property. No one knows where their water is coming from right now, as of 2 weeks ago. I do believe it is coming off from a well that is a spring somewhere on the A. Johnson property. But I do not know where that is, nor does Mr. Gillette or Ms. Gillette.
Thank you. Can I speak?
Just a second.
Unless it's been traced out in the last 2 weeks. So I know that I walked it with Mr. Gillette, and where their dowser put that well is in a test pit that was done for this project. So I do not believe that is the case.
Okay.
Thank you. Can I speak?
Yeah, Stacy, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. So when we bought the property, yes, we didn't know where the well was. But previous to us buying the property, Landmark Engineering took the Joneses' word that the water source was underneath the house, underneath the master bedroom. And that's where the the permit that
their original wastewater permit showed it.
Yeah.
And the renovations that we've done to the house, it became very clear that it was not under the house.
And Landmark Engineering actually
GPS'd the existing, what they're considering the water source on lot 17. It's a GPS in the wastewater permit.
And they also, and not that this really has much to do with this whole development, but they also admitted that they didn't physically go underneath the house to see if there was a water source there. They just took the property owner's word for it previous to us buying it. So that's where it was on the permit. And when we had work done, it was determined that absolutely not, it was not under the house. And so yes, we resorted to doubting to try to determine, and then Landmark Engineering said, okay, this is where your water source is on lot 17. So that's where we're at right now. So if anybody has any other ideas to find our water source, if you don't believe that that's where it is, we are open. But otherwise, we now feel and are only believe that our water source is located on lot 17. Thank you.
Thank you, Stacy, for completing the thought. I appreciate it, and I'm sorry for the irregularity of the meeting. So, just basically, there's a contention that the water source is there, not a confirmation aside from.
So it is shown on, if I may speak.
Please, yeah.
It is shown on permit WW92987-2, which was dated 8/14/23. I don't know what the basis of that is. Like I said, I've walked that area, we haven't seen it, and I will, by the looks of where that is pretty much where Judy's wastewater system is.
Okay.
So, like I said, I don't know what what they found there to make them think that is the well. However, they have a permit for a new well adjacent to their house.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, I'm not sure how this will fold in with the legal requirements that we're actually reviewing with this appeal, but it's good to get the comments in. Got what you need, everybody on the board? So
Yes.
I would accept a motion to move into deliberative session if you're interested in doing that.
Make a motion, we go into deliberative section.
And Gary seconds. Any discussion on that motion? All right, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
It's unanimous. We're moving into deliberative section. Thank you to all of the test